Hello and welcome to Views on News. I am Jawad Hami. In today's program, we are going to take up for discussion two important developments. The first relates to the overall situation as the ceasefire agreement between Israel and Hamas, and also the release of the Israeli captives, which have been going on for today. And it is also expected after all the captives would be handed over to Israel, Israel will also be starting to release all those 2,000 Palestinian prisoners in Israeli jails. Also regarding this whole situation, we have seen US President Donald Trump flying to Israel. He has addressed the Israeli parliament, the Knesset, and also a number of other things which are associated with this development. In the second segment, we are going to talk about Pakistan's deep concern at the unwarranted aggression by the Afghan Taliban Fitna Khawarij and Fitna al-Hindustan along the Pak-Afghan border on the night of 11th and 12th of October 2025. With Foreign Office saying such unprovoked actions aimed at destabilizing the Pak-Afghan border belie the overall spirit of peaceful neighborhood and cooperative relations between two brotherly nations. So the first segment, when we talk about as to the overall situation that has developed as far as the situation in Gaza is concerned, the release of Israeli captives, and most notably we are also expecting that as per the ceasefire agreement between the two sides, Israel is also going to release those 2,000 Palestinian prisoners. President Donald Trump also talking about this particular agreement between these two sides, also has flown to Israel, and he has also addressed Israeli parliament, the Knesset. He is also expected to fly to Egypt's Sharm El-Sheikh, where he is going to be hosting the leaders of more than 20 nations. And this is being termed as the Gaza Peace Summit. And it's also expected, as per Cairo, that a peace agreement is also expected to be signed at the end of this particular summit. We've also seen Prime Minister SHEHBAZ Sharif also flying to Sharm El-Sheikh in Egypt to participate in this peace summit, with the Pakistan's Foreign Office saying Pakistan hopes that Sharm El-Sheikh Peace Summit will pave the way for full Israeli withdrawal, protection of Palestinian civilians, an end to their displacement, release of the prisoners, addressing of the prevailing grave humanitarian situation, as well as reconstruction of Gaza. We'll be taking the analysis and the assessment from our esteemed panel of guests who are joining us both in the studio as well as online regarding this particular development as well. And most notably, when President Donald Trump has more specifically thanked the Arab and Islamic countries for their role in reaching to this particular point as far as Gaza ceasefire is concerned. It also gives us an understanding that how Pakistan's role as a peacemaker and the elevated diplomatic role around the world is being witnessed at this particular point in time. To discuss this and all, we are honored to be joined in the studio by Mr. Air Marshal retired Saeed Mohammed Khan. He is senior analyst. Air Marshal Khan, thank you very much for your time, for being with us on the show tonight. Really appreciate that. Also, at the same time, we are honored to be joined through the video link by Mr. Sardar Masood Khan. He's former president of Azad Jammu and Kashmir, also Pakistan's former ambassador to the United Nations, the United States of America, and China. Ambassador, Excellency, thank you very much for your time, also for being with us on the show tonight. Really appreciate that. Air Marshal Khan, specifically talking about this particular Gaza Peace Summit, which is going to be held in Al-Sheikh in Egypt. How significant a step this one is. It is also expected a peace agreement or a peace document being signed at the end of this particular summit. To this particular point, after 2 years of war by Israel on the innocent people in Gaza, when we are standing at this particular point in time, at the same time the exchange of the Israeli captives and Palestinian prisoners happening, how do you assess the overall situation? Where do we stand as to the overall equation in the region is concerned?
I think, Tahami, this is a very positive development that has taken place. Because of this development, the killing which was going on and which you have also referred to has, stopped, and the Palestinians are taking a sigh of relief. the second important thing that would be allowed would be the humanitarian aid that will flow into Gaza, and along with the humanitarian food would also be the medical aid that is so much required by the people over there. So, as a first step towards peace, I think today is a great day, and both the West as well as the Arabs are very happy today. We should thank all those who were responsible for having this peace deal done: America, Qatar, Egypt, and a big role played by Pakistan too. That they have done a wonderful job, and the things have, started. The ball has started to roll. But what is, in my opinion, the difficult things are going to come ahead. Today, the prisoners have been exchanged, so the long-standing requirement of Israel is complete. Will Israel leave Gaza? That's question number one. And will he agree to a two-state concept which has been forwarded by the United Nations? Is that going to eventually take place? Is the big question mark, and I think a question which everyone is asking. Second, two forces have to come into existence. One is the committee which is to oversee the management of Gaza for the interim, and then the second is the stabilization force. Now, everyone is hoping that it is not a one-sided committee which does not look into the interests of the Palestinians and only looks into the interests of Israel. And secondly, the stabilization force should be strong enough so that if Israel tries to violate the terms of the peace treaty, the stabilization force should be able to ensure that
so
those terms are in place.
difficult phases, of course, lie ahead. I'll come back to you for your deeper understanding regarding as to what could be the possibility as far as this, as you mentioned, regarding the stabilization force, the future governance of the Palestinian territories. Also, what could be the guarantee when it comes to Israel's approach and behavior towards the Palestinian territories. Excellency Ambassador Masood Khan, how do you look at this particular point in time when President Donald Trump has also at the same time addressed the Israeli parliament, the Knesset? He is also expected to co-host a peace summit in Sharm El-Sheikh with Pakistan's Prime Minister SHEHBAZ Sharif also going to participate in that.
Well, I would say that you've covered most of the points already, and yes, so there's little that I can add to what has already been said. But today is a moment of joy and celebration, also of trauma, because you have visuals coming from Israel where there is celebration. We also have celebrations in Ramallah and also in Khan Yunis. But at the same time, you also see firsthand through these visuals the plight of the Palestinians in Gaza and in the occupied Palestinian territory. So there are mixed feelings about it. I think that the satisfaction that we can draw from this development is that the genocide has come to an end, or there's a pause to genocide for the time being, because Israel is committed to this peace plan, which has been co-signed by Israel and Hamas, and the United States is the guarantor. So this is the first phase of the implementation of the 20-point formula, but we will have to see if the momentum continues. For instance, would the Palestinians be given any authority? Would there be a process in motion for the realization of the right to self-determination of the Palestinian people? How would Board of Peace, I mean, this interim governance structure, place Palestinians, because Palestinian representatives would be appointed there, and would the Palestinians in Gaza and occupied Palestinian territory be disenfranchised? Would Palestinian Authority in due process, in due course, would have any role to play? So these are some of the questions, and already about the role of the stabilization force. Would they be a police force, or would they be watching Gazans there in their own territory? And then the bigger question is the rebuilding of the devastated Gaza territory. Who would it be rebuilt for? For the Gazans, to rehabilitate them after giving them humanitarian assistance? Or would it be built, like President Trump at one point said, that he would envision this place as a Riviera in the Middle East? So would it be built for the Israeli settlers or the Europeans or the Americans or all these things? Because there would be huge investment, and tens of billions of dollars would be invested in this territory as per the plan. So these are some of the questions, but I think that let's not over speculate about them. And let's also laud and applaud the role of Pakistan. Pakistan has been a peacemaker, has been a proactive peacemaker. Our Prime Minister and Field Marshal Assam Munir have been very proactive in promoting peace in the Middle East and trying to save the Gazans from continuing genocide, which has come to a halt today. So I think that these are some of the thoughts, but they're in the 20-point formula. There's a promise that the international machinery would work towards the realization of the right to self-determination and statehood for the Palestinians. But here, all these two options have been firmly rejected by Israel. Prime Minister Netanyahu said under no circumstances they would accept a Palestinian state. He has ruled out any role by the Palestinian Authority. So while we have good moments today, there's uncertainty in the future, and let's hope that good things happen and that Pakistan would continue to invest its political will in stabilizing the region and bringing peace and security for the Middle East.
Right. So in that sort of a scenario, where there has been an outright rejection on the part of Israelis regarding the future of an independent, sovereign and a contiguous Palestinian state. So what should the world be expecting? This particular 20-point peace plan, if it becomes viable and sustainable, by looking at the points of it, do you think, given at the same time that outright rejection on the part of Israelis, there is any possibility of a two-state solution?
Well, there has to be a viable state. And right now, it's not a contiguous state. I mean, the territory is divided. And the second thing is that it is not sovereign. It is not independent. And you have 700,000 Israelis settled, illegally settled in the occupied Palestinian territory. We do not know what would happen to Gaza. Would there be illegal settlers there too? So I think that it looks like a mirage right now, but the international community has spoken. Three-fourths, as a matter of fact, three-fourths of the members of the United Nations have recognized the state of Palestine. But now we have to cobble together the state, and the international community's will is there. The United States of America, the most powerful nation on earth, and also the most influential backer of Israel, has not endorsed that plan openly. So I think that you have that barrier over there. But at the same time, we should not lose hope, because the citizens of the world, the streets and squares of the world capitals, they've spoken up, and they're saying that Palestinians should be given their right to self-determination and their independence. So maybe the civil rights movement supporting Palestinians will produce results.
Excellency, there's one very interesting development as far as President Donald Trump's statement is concerned. He has claimed regarding Hamas that the group had been given the US approval to do rearming for a period of time. Let me go over he exactly had to say. They've been open about it and we gave them approval for a period of time. You have to understand they've lost probably 60,000 people. That's a lot of retribution. I mean, on one side, we've seen the US and Israel specifically talking about Hamas completely being disarmed, their no role in the future governance of Gaza at all. What does this particular approval on the part of the US for Hamas for a certain period of time to rearm is all about?
I think it is conditional. It's a nodding oblique approval that has been given by President Trump. President Trump, after all, is the guarantor, and he's read the situation on the ground. I think that without Hamas, you cannot have any peace and security or peace or stability in the Gazan territory. So this is what he has recognized, and I think that during the talks between Israel and Hamas representatives have stuck to their line that they should not be disarmed completely. So maybe this is a temporary role, but at the same time, many Palestinians are being exiled. I mean, you talked about the repatriation of the Palestinian prisoners, some 17,000 Gazans and 250 from occupied Palestinian territory. They've been repatriated, they've been freed. But many Gazans who are labeled as Hamas operatives, they are being banned or exiled. So I don't know how this mechanism would work, but this is right now, as we speak, this is being worked out. And we have listened to the speech of President Trump in Israel, and he's been applauded there. But now he has traveled to Sharm El-Sheikh, and we'll see if these two speeches are similar or different in tone and tenor. So let's see what happens. As we speak right now, as we are interacting, the situation is evolving, and let's hope for the best. The biggest thing that has happened today is that, as I said right in the beginning, that genocide in Gaza has come to a halt. Let's hope that this is not a pause, that this would be a permanent ceasefire and a permanent end to genocide.
Mr. Sardar Masood Khan, former president of the Azad Jammu and Kashmir, a former permanent representative of Pakistan to the UN, ambassador to the US and China, thank you very much for being with us on the show tonight. Really appreciate that. Air Marshal Khan, now this particular approval by the US to Hamas to rearm, what does that depict?
It means that USA has become a realist. Because when the 20-point plan was forwarded nearly 10 days ago, everybody said that this plan doesn't seem to be coming from America, it seems to be coming from Israel. And it seemed to be a plan which was not at all giving any rights of self-defense to the Palestinians. I'm sure once the negotiations had started and the Americans would have realized in those negotiations that the Israelis are being unjust to the Palestinians, and for ensuring that both parties remain at equal keel, they might have given into this demand. And I think it is very practical, because if you read the 20-point plan, point number 3 says that as soon as the peace treaty is signed, then the battle lines will be frozen, meaning thereby that wherever the Israelis are and wherever Hamas are, they are going to be there. So Israelis are already breathing down the neck of the Gazans over there. So if they continue there with their, with their guns, what would the Palestinians do if tomorrow Israel again has a false flag operation and it starts its aggression again? So I think the Palestinians have been very right in standing up to this point, and it is good that America has relented to their request.
So what about the viability of the two-state solution given this particular 20-point peace plan? The last 2 points more specifically talking about the Palestinian people, their aspiration to right to self-determination and statehood, but it specifically talks about creating those conditions after the Palestinian Authority goes through some reforms. In comparison to that outright rejection on the part of the Israeli Prime Minister, So how the things are going to go about in
It's
that
going to be
particular
a very
direction?
tricky situation, Tahami, where if we look at history, Israel is not is a fair friend to be with, right? And they will make all efforts to ensure that this peace plan fails in the future because they want to eventually take over Gazan territory. In my view, the Americans will have to play their role. Today's President Trump's visit to Israel and then talking to the Knesset, you know, it shows that he has shown that America is the biggest backer Israel has. I hope once he now talks at Sharm El-Sheikh, he also says that he's as friendly and as sincere to the Palestinians as he is to the Israelis. Only then the world will look at United States as a neutral arbiter in this conflict. At this very moment, the whole world, and especially the Arab street, has a feeling that this peace deal is being throttled down the throat of the Palestinians. But I look at it from this angle that if the Palestinians are happy, we should also be happy. You know, all the factions of the Palestinians, Hamas, the Palestinian Authority, they have all accepted this peace plan. So let's see, like Ambassador Masood said, that you know, these are tricky times ahead, but let's be hopeful that the things are going to be better. But the main focus after today will be on President Trump. The whole world will be looking at him, that is he a neutral arbiter? Because peace can only be there in that region if justice is done. If justice is not done and it is a one-sided solution, then sooner or later this peace will break down and the war will start again.
So looking at this particular summit that is going to happen in Sharm El-Sheikh, first of all, what do you expect out of it? Is there something substantial that we are expecting that could transpire out of it? Or is just to extend that gratitude to all the Muslim and Arab countries for having played their role in reaching to this particular point of ceasefire agreement between the two sides there?
I think if we celebrate too much, that would be wrong. Because yes, we need to celebrate today because the killings of the Palestinians has stopped. But have the Palestinians been given their rights of self-determination? You know, that dream is still far away. And all the Muslim countries have pledged on all the forums, especially the OIC forum, that everyone is going to stay with the concept of this two-state policy as envisioned by the United Nations. So I hope that when closed doors sessions will be held at Sharm El-Sheikh, the Muslim countries and especially Pakistan will put its foot down and say that all that has been agreed upon, you know, by the world through United Nations resolutions, it should be implemented. And Israel should also be made responsible for the actions that are needed to ensure that the peace treaty is successful. Number two, like I told you earlier, the committee that is going to be made to overlook the Gazan territory for the interim, I think it should have very strong Palestinian representation also. So that the interests of the Palestinians is taken care of. And the second thing, the Muslims should not shy away for being a very strong part of the stabilization force. Whether it is the police force that is going to be made or whether it is going to be a military force to ensure peace in that area, whatever it is, the Muslims should be seen as in the forefront of such a thing. Because, you know, one of the statements I was reading through what President Trump made in Israel was that Israel has been successful because it was strong. This was a message I think we must all Muslims drill down our minds, because until and unless we are strong militarily as well as economically, always unjust solutions will be thrust upon us. So if we want the Palestinian peace accord to be successful, the Muslims have to be strong over there to ensure that Israel follows what is expected out of them.
Pakistan's participation, don't you think it shows that Pakistan's role as a peacemaker and its diplomatic stature has actually increased considerably among the Committee of Nations?
there is no doubt about it. And I think since May 2025, the world has started to look at us in a different light. And with the efforts of the government and Field Marshal, I think Pakistan is today seen as a major security stabilizer in this region instead of being a security destabilizer in this region. So yes, I think we have a big role to play in the region as well as with the Islamic Ummah, and we should not shy away from it. Yeah, it is going to be difficult, and what we are seeing these days on our western border and through India and its proxies, these are all these things to ensure that we somewhere crumble down through, with the continued onslaught that is being done onto us. But if we are a strong country, which I am sure we are, we'll live through this time also.
Mr. Marshal, retired Saeed Mohammed Khan, senior analyst, joining us in the studio. Thank you very much for being with us for this particular segment, and you are going to continue with us in the second segment of the show as well. It's time for a short break, and after the break, we'll be resuming the discussion with the topic as to Afghan Taliban's Fitna al-Khawarij and Fitna al-Hindustan's unwarranted aggression against Pakistan, which has been befittingly responded to by Pakistan's armed forces. For that, stay tuned. Welcome back to Views on News. The unwarranted aggression by Afghan Taliban, the Fitna al-Khawarij and Fitna al-Hindustan, which has been befittingly responded to by Pakistan. There has been a deep concern expressed by Pakistan's Foreign Office. We have seen a very detailed press release also by Inter-Services Public Relations, which more specifically points out to this particular fact. Let me quote, "We have noted with concern that this serious provocation has occurred during the visit of Taliban Foreign Minister to India, the biggest sponsor of terrorism in the region. In the interest of regional peace and security, we call upon the Taliban government to take immediate and verifiable actions to neutralize the terrorist groups. Fitna al-Hindustan, Fitna al-Khawarij, ISKP, Daesh operating from their territory. Otherwise, Pakistan will continue to exercise its right to defend its people by persistent neutralization of terror targets. The Taliban government should shun any ill-begotten notions and prioritize well-being, peace, prosperity, and development of Afghan people over irresponsible saber-rattling." Air Marshal, what's your understanding regarding the timing of this particular aggression on the part of the Afghan Taliban, Fitna al-Khawarij and the Fitna al-Hindustan? When Interim Afghan Foreign Minister Amir Khan Muttaqi was there in India, it happened at that particular point in time. What's the relevance?
Tahami, I think it would be naive to, think of this incident as an isolated incident. Since May 2025, there has been a series of events, and all events are interrelated to each other because India and its proxies were trying to build up pressure on Pakistan, and they were actually jealous of the successes of what we have been talking in the first segment of your program. During 2025, May 2025, India expected that Pakistan would be given a beating, and they would make a lesson out of us for the world, and they will be able to convince the West that they are the security providers in this region. But, thanks to our valiant soldiers and our strong government, we were able to deny that to the Indians. Now that the Indians have realized that they cannot subjugate us militarily, they have now resorted to putting pressure on us through their proxies. And at this very moment, on our western border, BLA, TTP, ISIS are the ones that are being paid very heavily by RAW and Masood. Now, if you look at the events since May 2025, continuously the proxies were coming into Pakistan, they were crossing the international border, and they were trying and killing our people as well as our soldiers. Pakistan, on the other hand, was continuously talking to them on the diplomatic level and requesting them to stop the TTP ingress into Pakistan. Two important meetings were held. One was held in Moscow and
Right.
one was held in Beijing. And in both these meetings, Afghanistan was requested by all the countries of the region. Afghanistan was requested by all the countries of the region to not spoil the atmosphere for economic growth in this region, and they should not send the jihadists out of their land into other countries. But unfortunately, they did not. Now, just prior to Mr. Muttaqi's visit to India, I think they must have planned it. They made two big attacks on Pakistan, in which, in the first one, 11 of our soldiers were, they embraced Shahadat. And on the very next day, they again came in and then they attacked again, and nearly 6 soldiers were killed, and they took their dead bodies along with them. That was the time when Pakistan thought that enough is enough. In this, during these two incidents, Mr. Muttaqi had reached India and he was now hobnobbing with them. When Mr. Muttaqi signed that joint statement with India saying that Jammu and Kashmir are an integral part of India, that was the time when Pakistan thought that enough of diplomacy, and I think Afghanistan government has crossed that red line which was acceptable to us. And that is why we went in and we first went in and we destroyed their TTP hideouts. When they did not, get the message well, after I think 2 days, they attacked us from 17 places between Kabul and Kandahar. And that was the time when Pakistan said that enough is enough.
Enough is enough, and the kind of response that was actually given to them. I'll come back to you if you allow me to proceed with the discussion with another participant through the video link, Dr. Maria Sultan, senior analyst. Dr. Maria, thank you very much for being with us on the show tonight. Really appreciate that. How do you look at this particular timing when the interim Afghan foreign minister was there in India, this unwarranted aggression on the part of the interim Afghan authorities? Firstly, what sort of a mindset is at play behind this, and what do they want to prove to Pakistan?
Actually, balancing of relations is always something which is sought of by multiple powers at multiple times. But what is not accepted and what's not acceptable is the fact that you use pressure, in which you use terror as a measure of impact on Pakistan. I think that is where they went wrong. They believed that India would continue to fund them. They believed that whatever funding was going to the NDS, which is around $300 million plus, it would remain intact. And the Taliban regime would pretty much, survive this transition as there is a reconstruction ban, which is likely to be put on Afghanistan post 2025. They were of the view that if they continued to use this, they could actually create a lot of leverage against Islamabad. What they didn't understand is the fact that Pakistan has fought a very long war against terrorism. And not only that, we also understand the dynamics of terrorism. That basically means that if there's somebody funding the war, then and only then does terrorism continue to, become visible in the manner in which we were facing it. And what we had seen is that since 2021, since they came into power, this seemed to be their consistent strategy. And on top of that, they thought they're going to formalize this link, and now India has gone ahead and recognized the Taliban regime. So this basically means that while this recognition has come forward, now the biggest question is India has come in Afghanistan. Now, question is, how will they sustain these 17 places where they were training terrorists against Pakistan and then using them as launch pads against Pakistan? What has been the result? The result has been that Pakistan has taken them out consistently, effectively, and swiftly. Secondly, we as a nation stand together against terrorism, and most importantly, the international community, including the United States, is of the view that we need to come up with a much more constructive approach in this region, and that is that this cannot become the play, the PlayStation for global terrorists to operate. And if it continues to happen, and if India becomes the harbinger of this new strategy, then they will also have to pay for it.
So what sort of a message has been delivered to them, the interim Afghan authorities, by Pakistan after their unwarranted aggression against Pakistan?
Very simple and very short. uh, Pakistan has uh, crossed its threshold to absorb terrorism from Afghanistan. If Afghanistan will carry out such a strategy against Islamabad, they should be ready for punitive action from Islamabad. That is phase one. Phase two, we have got a lot of leverage which we have not used against Afghanistan, including the 75% of their trade which passes through Pakistan. And third, and most importantly, I think the message is this, that Pakistan will no longer allow for a confluence of organized crime and terrorism to exist in this region. And if that is going to become the new reality where criminality, organized crime, and terrorism is going to interface on the Pak-Afghan border, then they should be prepared for multiple, strikes, not only from Islamabad, but also from other regional actors who would continue to believe that Afghanistan should now transition towards peace rather than continue to become a place for global terrorism.
Right, Dr. Magia, so if interim Afghan authorities don't learn the lesson, if they continue to tread that very similar path, so what could be expected from major powers when it comes to the regional powers? In particular, most recently we saw that Moscow format happening as well, and during his address to that particular summit, the interim Afghan foreign minister expressed his desire for Afghanistan to become part of this region, reap the dividends of the connectivity, the economic dividends as well. Also claiming that the security within Afghanistan has also increased, also expressing at the same time they want to have good relations with all their neighbors. So at this particular point in time, if they, on the other hand, continue to tread the same path, what could be expected from the regional powers if Pakistan goes ahead with this particular approach onwards?
There's a catch-22. The catch-22 is that without Pakistan, there is no regional connectivity. CPAC cannot finish without Pakistan, and neither can a north-south corridor. And even for Afghanistan, for its own sustenance, 75% of their trade actually passes through Pakistan. So the fact of the matter is, if anybody wants access to the blue waters and wants access to global economic trade corridors, then it will have to pass through Islamabad. And if you want these access to become consistent and permanent, then you cannot threaten the biggest, leader here for economic connectivity with terrorism. And if you continue to do that, what do you expect? That Pakistan will stand back and say, okay, we will continue to give this price because India is going to use Afghanistan as a proxy and we are going to get intimidated and we are going to allow that to happen? We are really sorry that India lost the war with Pakistan in less than 4 hours. But it doesn't mean that they continue to harbor terrorism and continue to support safe havens in Afghanistan as a measure of regional diplomacy. And if this is the regional diplomacy which they're after, and this is what they're looking at, then there is a bigger question mark with regards to the United Nations Security Council resolutions 1373, 1267, which make it compulsory for Afghanistan to ensure that neither it is facilitated through financial terrorism or support for terrorism through financial action, which India is definitely doing, and also in literal sense. And if that happens, then there can be Chapter 7. That means sanctions and continued apartheid of the Taliban regime. And if that happens, the biggest question will be how will they survive without economics, paving the way? If this is not going to be a normal state, is India really going to allow for Afghanistan to become a terrorist state and continue to fund the entire Taliban regime? That's a question mark which the Taliban regime needs to think about, and that's a question mark which India also needs to think about. Can they really take, the financial impact of this war in which they want to use proxies against Pakistan on a continuous basis for a long haul?
Right, Dr. Maria Sultan's here and is joining us through the video link. Thank you very much for being with us on the show. Your closing quick remarks. What's the way forward for Pakistan?
First of all, we must maintain strong diplomatic, military presence in this region. And if they try to again violate the peace which is momentarily there on the border, we must retaliate very strongly, telling them of our resolve. That is point one. Number two, we must use our friends to bring peace back into this region. Especially I would refer to Saudi Arabia and Qatar. We must request them that they should come here. President Trump has also shown some interest in resolving this dispute. We must use his good offices too, and we must request them that there should be a peace pact between Pakistan and Afghanistan.
Right.
And if anybody violates it, then any country violates it, then that country should be held responsible.
Accountable. Air Marshal retired Saeed Mohammed Khan, senior analyst. Thank you very much for your time, for being with us on the show tonight. Really appreciate that. With that, we come to the end of today's episode. Till the next one, take good care of yourselves.